Hey everybody, it's Joel Toppin here, and I got a package in the mail from GMT Games. And it's so cool to see this. GMT Games packaging of 1960, The Making of the President by Jason Matthews and Christian Leonard, the designers of Twilight Struggle. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a box opening video, but I'm also going to give you a look at the original game, 1960, by Z-Man Games, so you can get an idea of how the two editions compare to one another. So, and we're going to try to do this just as fair and balanced as we can here. So I've already taken the shrink wrap off, opening up the box. It's the nice, large size, heavy duty cardboard boxes that you see with the Coin Series games from GMT. So that's what you got. Love the cover artwork. The cover artwork is really nice. When you compare it to the cover artwork from the original game, to be honest with you, I can go either way. I think they're both great. So, in terms of footprint on my shelves, well, this is going to go with all my other GMT games, whereas this is a little bit different size. And if you ever want to sell it or trade it, this is the size of box. It's difficult to mail. So, this size here, you can actually fit that into a priority mail box, so it's easy to ship and things like that. So, alright, so let's look inside it. First of all, I already did have a look before I turned the video on, and it does come with baggies. Can you imagine that? A GMT game that came with baggies. Wow. So, those of you that know GMT games, you know that you always get baggies. Alright, so here's the rule book. Original game had a color rule book. This one is also a color book. Nice thing about this rule book, it is the excuse me, not the semi-gloss, but the matte finish, which is what I prefer greatly. So very, very nice. This is not a difficult game to learn. There is a play aid on the back. In actual, usage during the course of play, I find that I don't really even need a play aid with this particular game. It's not a difficult game. So you have a 20-page rule book, and the 20th page is the player aid. And of that, there's actually an example of play, and I think some strategy tips, some new optional rules that were not in the original game that I can recall. So it's been a little while. It's been maybe about 7 months since I played the original game. Anyways, so 14 pages of rules, sample turn, example play, good stuff. I like the rule book, I like what they did with it. All right, after that we have a debate card. It's cardstock, it's color. It is substantially thinner than what came in the original game. We'll look at that in just a minute. Is that a big deal? I don't know. The original game had the same stock of debate card as you would see on the counters here. So, to me, that's just slightly disappointing. It's, okay, call this a win for the original edition. We'll move on. Look at the counters here. Now, counters are really nice. The original game had round momentum counters and round endorsement counters. I like that the endorsements are no longer round. It's going to make them stand apart better. And these are nice and thick. So in terms of quality, they are definitely every bit as good as the original. In terms of artwork, the artwork on these seems to be very, very similar to what was in the original game. The difference is on the states, and I think the states are easier to read in this edition. The original edition had state seals, and while that sounds like a good idea, in terms of actual practice, it's kind of hard to read them, and it's kind of hard to figure out which one's which. It more or less was a pain in the butt. This is a lot better, I think, to have the state shape, because I think people are a lot more familiar with the state shape than they are with the state seals. So call this definitely a win for the new edition. So you got a couple sheets of these. On the backs of the states, you also have the electoral vote value, which call it your victory point value, if you will. Back side of the endorsements has red for Nixon, and same thing with the momentum tokens. So there you go. And you got a couple of these sheets. So there's 2 sheets. There's your debate These seem to be larger. I might be misremembering, but they seem to be larger in terms of size than in the original game. Artwork-wise, it's slightly different. And I think it's good. It's done in a good way. They stand out. The artwork on them stands out, definitely. And again, I really like what they did with the state tokens. So here's the map. Now, first thing I am noticing about the map, and again, I might be misremembering this, but it seems to me like the states are bigger. Like there's more space to put your cubes in. Not like, you know, that there's a lot of people pouring their cubes into Nevada. But I'm just saying, it just feels like the states are bigger. But we'll take a look at the original edition here in just a minute, and we'll see. Bag full of cubes, and I think the cubes are the same size as the original edition. So there's your wooden pieces. I think the candidate tokens look to be bigger. I'm trying to sort one. There's one. There's Nixon. I think that these are a little bit bigger in diameter than in the original game. So I like these. These are good. There's a bag to draw from. Every bit as good as the original edition. Cards. Card artwork and layout has changed somewhat. Now, I haven't unwrapped these, so I haven't really looked at, you know, the actual pictures on all the cards. But it looks like they used some of the original artwork, that, you know, some of the pictures that were used in the original game are also used on these cards. But the layout of the cards is different. All the information there, I think, is the same, but it's laid out a little bit different. And I can't say if I like one better than the other. I think they're every bit as good as the original edition. So, there you go. Definitely good stock on the card. So that's what's inside the box from the GMT game. So I'm going to go ahead and unfold the map, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, so here's the map for 1960, the GMT edition of the game. And there's lots of space in the countries now, or in the states now, to hold the 4. You know, I think you can have up to 4 cubes in a state at a time. I'd have to relook at the rules to find out. But it seems like this map here, this board, maybe makes a little bit better use of space than the original game. But that's just a hunch. I'm just gonna leave that there. Different regions are color-coded nicely. They stand apart well. Colorblind people may have an issue with this and this, but I don't think so. This is a different shading of green that I think is gonna. I think colorblind people are gonna be okay differentiating the red here and the green there. It probably would have been better to do a transverse of these colors, but you know, for the sake of colorblind folk. But I think we're gonna be okay there. So there you go. That is the new edition. Now let's look at the Z-Man stuff. Okay, this is just to show you the difference. The Z-Man map is, I think it's about the same size. I think they both constitute the same amount of space. The GMT one is more poster size, so it's a little bit longer, but it's narrower. Whereas the Z-Man one is more square in its overall shape. And artistically, I gotta tell you, I really like the Z-Man one. You know, you got the coffee stain down there. So there's things I like about both of them. So I feel like I can't say that one's better than the other. So there you go. But so if you're wondering what's different between the two games, there are some substantial differences in artwork here, but the information is all going to be the same between the two. I don't think that this information here is on the GMT one, and that's what allowed them to maybe make the state spaces a little bit bigger on the new edition. So there you go. That is a look at the Z-Man map. Now let's look at some of the other components here. Okay, so these are the cards from the Z-Man edition. They are linen finished, and the card artwork on the back, it differs somewhat. boy, I'll tell you what, for me, it's a real toss-up. I like both of them. There's something about this card artwork that just jumps out at me, maybe a little bit more than this. They're both good, but the information is really what you're after on here. And all of the information, like the CP value on the Z-Man cards is up here. Now it's over here. Your rest cube information is over on the other side. So they changed some of the layout, and I think that might be a good change. The one thing I think that kind of jumps out at me here, maybe I'm misreading this a little bit. Okay, so who the card is aligned with is still just a little icon. So there's the icon for who the card is aligned with, and that's kind of the same method that's used here on the GMT edition. So that's, I guess that's a nice thing. The states being color-coded and stuff, I think that's going to help. They were before, but I think the colors, to me, they jump out maybe a little bit better now. I can't really tell you if I like the one better than the other, to be honest with you. I don't remember if there was any card errata with the Z-Man edition. So if you had the Z-Man edition and you preferred this style of card, I don't see any reason why you couldn't play with the GMT board and other components. Okay, rest of the stuff, there's the candidate card. I'm not going to fish it out from the GMT edition. The candidate token does appear to be taller than I remember. Like I said, it's been a while since I got this out. So I think it's about the same in diameter as the GMT one, but it might be taller than in the GMT edition. That's the debate tokens are larger than I remember them being. So they're about the same size as on the GMT edition. What stands out is the GMT edition, they've made these both symbolic and color-coded, so they're not all the same color. Let me show you here what I'm talking about. The debate tokens, see, there's a color and an icon associated with it, whereas on these, it was just an icon. That's kind of a nice thing in a new edition, but again, I can go either way on the artwork there. So, probably the biggest difference, see, again, the endorsements, they're round on the old edition. They're now square. I think that's nice to have that differentiated between the momentum tokens. The momentum tokens look to be an awful lot like the new ones. Now, these were linen finish, so if you like that, that was, that's something that that was in the Z-Man edition. To me, it's not a big deal either way. These are the state tokens. And I've already covered that in detail. I love the state, having the state seals on there, but when it came time to play it, sometimes it's hard, you gotta sit there and really look at it or flip the token over to see it printed on the back to know, where to put it. I think the new edition is going to make that a little bit easier to read. So there's plus and minuses to both of them. And again, I just thought that might just be helpful for people to see side by side. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. The only thing I saw in the new edition that made me go, huh, was the debate card. See, this is the debate card for the original game. And you see this has gotten some play. There's some wear on this thing. So it's gotten some use. The new one is a little bit, bigger, but it's thinner. And that's the only thing that made me go, huh. Other than that, I think that you're pretty much getting the same thing that you got in the Z-Man edition. Now, Z-Man edition's been out of print for a while now. So it's nice to have this game right back in print. Now, you might be asking the question, well, what's this game like? Again, these are the designers of Twilight Struggle. So is this game like Twilight Struggle? Well, in some ways, it'll feel kind of like Twilight Struggle. I would say this is not as complex as Twilight Struggle. Maybe a step up in terms of weight to the game. Not that Twilight Struggle is a complicated game. But I would say this one is not quite as heavy, but is very, very tense. It's going to go right down to the wire. You get right down to election day, and sometimes election day, you don't know who's going to win this thing. So I love this game. It is a great, great election game. If you want to learn about the system of American politics and electoral process in the United States, this is a great game. So definitely I would encourage you, if you didn't get a chance to get in on that Z-Man edition, I would snap this thing up. Now, if you have the Z-Man edition, you might be wondering, should I get the new one? Well, that's why I wanted to give you the side-by-side. I'll leave that up to you, whether you feel like that would be a good investment or not. But if you missed out on the Z-Man edition, definitely want to pick this one up. This is a great card-driven game. You can play through the entire election in about 2 hours, so it's a little bit shorter playing time than Twilight Struggle. So again, there's going to be similar feels. Like, I feel like if you learn this game and you play this game, that you could probably jump into Twilight Struggle and be able to play that no problem. There's a lot of very, very similar concepts between the two, but it's not like Twilight Struggle with a different theme pasted on. This is entirely a different game, and definitely something I highly recommend it. I think it's a fantastic game. And just want to show you what comes inside the box. So there is another look at the counters and the cubes, box and stuff. This is going to be a great, great addition to the collection. So I'm Joel Toppin, and that's what comes inside the box.